it was only because of reassurance from others like Natalie, you can do this.
Not me.
That I was like, you know what? I think I can. I'm going to try. But if I hadn't gotten that reassurance, and that's one thing I as a parent have not done enough of, and why now I see that I need to do more is that reassurance of thanks so much for being on our show.
What a great show.
If you guys,
what a great show.
Why are you clapping?
I need to get a fake clapper in the background.
Why he clapping? You've been yaying and clapping all down the whole show.
Because it's a great show. What do you mean? I'm trying to show her love, man. Give me a break, man. Come on, don't make fun of me now.
Don't enter my room and not address me. You come in my room, you say, good morning, Miss Daniels, or good afternoon. How are you? We need to get this off the printer. Is that okay? You don't just come in my room and don't speak or do what you're going to do. Right. That's rude.
And one goes to private school and in person, but I have other friends whose children are still at home and doing virtual school. Like, do you have any tips for parents like that to help their kids navigate the virtual learning, and also even the kids who are in school to help fill those gaps for them, the ones that are in person as well?
All right, hey guys, if it's crazy, all right, go now. Hit me. Wait. Get out of there! Oh my God!
Hey guys, welcome to the Family Mess. I'm Noah, and have a nice day.
Good God!
I love the Family Mess. Oh.
Welcome to the Family Mess Podcast. I'm your host, Ian, and this is my wife and co-host, Natalie. The Family Mess, the podcast about life with kids and all things adulting. Let's talk. Natalie. Another podcast, another great day. How are you?
Ian. I'm fine.
I need to get my introductions a little better so I can sound like one of those cool radio
You already
DJs
have the radio voice. I don't know what more you're looking for.
One of those radio DJs or something. Well, today is going to be a good podcast. I can feel it.
And why is that, Ian?
We have a guest on our podcast today.
Ooh,
Yes. I'm looking forward to talk to her. Could you introduce her very quickly so we can?
Yes, we have on the show today, we have Shae from In the Car with Shae. That's her podcast. And I met Shae, a few months ago. We were at an event with a mutual friend, and we got to chatting, and we both had a podcast, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so cool. I need to talk to her. So I asked her if she would come on the show. But a little bit about Shae, though. Shae is like, today we're kind of going to be talking about stuff with kids and COVID and education. And Shae is like the maestro of kids, I think.
Oh, man, I heard her credentials and I felt bad.
Not even her credentials. I mean, just all of her experiences and talking to her. So Shae has a master's degree in childhood education. She's been a youth pastor, a pastor. She's worked with kids in the juvenile court system, trying to help them to navigate that and not have to come back into the system. And she's worked with troubled families with helping them find services. And she's also worked with teens who were in permanent custody of the state. And I think it was Ohio, right, Shae?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
that's right.
And now she is now an educator. So, I mean, Shae is like, I don't know, what's the word? Like the guru of kids, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that.
And I am looking forward to our conversation in a few minutes about kids and because I need a lot of help. so I do have quite a few questions. So hopefully you can help me and and help other parents out there. So, but welcome, Shae. Thanks for joining us today.
Yay!
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. This is awesome.
Oh yes, I'm glad to finally have you on the podcast. Natalie's been talking about you for a while, so I'm glad we're finally able to get you on here.
Yeah, man.
Likewise.
When you meet somebody like for the first time and you talk to them and you're like, man, like that's just a cool person. Like they just give off that vibe and you want to know more about them. You want to talk to them more. And I got that vibe with Shae when we met, just a few months ago. Yeah, to the point where I was like, I gotta invite her onto the show and we've listened to your podcast, In the Car with Shae. And we were like, dang, man, she's deep. Like, she got some things to say.
I listened, I was like, damn, I'm stupid. I don't know anything. I listened to her, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know anything.
Yeah. But
you guys are too much. I love you guys. You're awesome. I felt the same way, Natalie, when we met. I was like, oh man, she's really awesome. This is cool. This is great. I'm excited to be on the program.
Yes, we're glad to have you here. So, Ian, what's up for this week?
Man, I mean, where do you want me to start, man?
It's been a rough week.
Man, I started my job this week, week 1, my new job, right? And I thought everything was going to go great. And, you know, it was going great until something happened to us.
We got baby, man. We had a super spreader come to our house. A 7-month-old super spreader.
Oh my God, I can't believe this. We were so good and we were trying to be so careful the entire time, and then a baby ends up destroying us.
Well, luckily right now we ain't got no symptoms. So what happened was my little 7-month-old niece that I keep every morning for a couple hours in the morning, her mom shows up. I love you, my niece out there.
You better tell her that.
She shows up with her little baby, her little 7-month-old bundle of trouble. And she's like, oh, she got a little sniffle. I think she might get a little cold.
She knew she was sick before she brought her over.
I said, cold? And I went, grabbed my mask, put my mask on. As soon as she said it, I didn't even pick up that baby. I put my mask on and I had the baby for a couple of hours with my mask. But at one point I brushed my teeth and I picked up that darn baby and didn't put my mask back on. And that baby had the nerve to sneeze in my face.
Oh, no.
I about died.
Natalie texted me at work when she did it. I was laughing.
She lucky I didn't drop her because she sneezed in my face. I said, oh my God. So I ran and got my
I'm going to die.
Yes. I ran and I got my colloidal silver spray and I sprayed and I put my mask back on and it was on after that. I dropped my son at school. Man. I dropped my son at school. I made him wear a mask too in the car. I was like, look, that baby she got something. And then lo and behold, 3 days later this was Monday morning. On Wednesday afternoon, I get a call, or my other niece who babysat her on Monday says, my son is sick too. And then we get to talking to her mom, and her mom says, oh, her aunt was watching her, and she got the COVID. We're like, oh my God.
Oh, then I have to call my new boss at work and tell him, I think I've been exposed. And so that take all these protocols, you know, ask me a lot of questions, who you're with, when did it happen, and now I'm in a 14-day quarantine for my job. My brand new job I just started from a
7-month-old super spreader. So luckily, fortunately, I mean, I dope up. I've been spraying my silver. I take extra vitamins. I do all this stuff anyway. And none of us here have symptoms so far.
Yeah, I think we're fairly healthy, so I think we've been taking the vitamins. At least me and Natalie
we're going to get the test tomorrow.
Our kids are dirty anyway, so that's probably why they didn't get nothing. So
they gross
dirty
boys.
Anyway. They're nasty. So
they're boys. Listen, I understand. I got two.
That's probably why they didn't get it. So.
Oh, that's right, Shae. I forgot. Yeah, and Shae's also a mom.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Yes, a wife and a
Oh,
mom.
well, she definitely understands 2 boys. Oh, she knows exactly what we're talking about. So
I know exactly what you're going through. Yes.
Yep. So
absolutely, because they are not clean at all, despite their effort.
It drives me crazy. We tell the young one, we have to ask him, did you use deodorant today? Every day before he goes to school.
Right. Because it's not even a thought. It's not a priority. Yeah. It won't be until he starts looking at the girls.
Yeah, man. The first
or
girl.
Until some girl tells him he stank.
Right. Then it's a priority.
Yes.
Then that stage is safe.
All right. Well, let's get into Natalie's 5 minutes of pound.
Yeah, I have a 21-year-old and a 14-year-old.
Okay.
They're older. Okay,
that's. But that means she's well educated. She's well versed.
Well, she could tell us then about.
That's what I'm saying. She can help us out.
Okay,
we need help.
Well, well, let's go talk in your 5 minutes a pound, Natalie. I'm gonna get this music right eventually.
Man,
I found a website that found music the intro, so I'll get it eventually right. But 5 minutes a pound, Natalie. How you been doing with the weight loss?
Why do we even? I told you we need to get rid of this segment. I'm for. Well, you know what I did? I said I wasn't going.
No,
to
you said you weren't going to give up. Right. You're going to stick with it.
But
what happened?
I've lost. Okay, so I peaked. I've gained over the last 2 months, I've gained like 10 pounds. I think just from inactivity, because I've been so busy with work and everything and just juggling life, inactivity. So I've lost 2 of those 10 pounds.
Shae, did you hear what you just said?
I got to start somewhere. Hey, if the scale has that same
2 pounds loss is 2 pounds loss.
Thank you. Thank you. The scale has been consistently 2 pounds down, so that means I've lost 2 pounds. So I'm working. It's a slow, long process, and I'm working on it. And I don't even know right now what my plan is. But right now, my plan right now is to just
HGC.
No, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I got to think about it some more. But my plan right now is just to eat real food. So I have got this lady, I'm blessed in life. So I've got this lady at my church who cooks food for us every week now. I just tell her, I buy the food, I give it to her, she cooks it. And so now my fridge is stocked. So this week I've eaten so well because I have food available to me. I don't have to cook it. So that's my new plan. I'm just going to eat real food. and I eat what she makes, and I love her.
Mm-hmm.
She's great, and I'm appreciative of what she's able to do, because she's happy to do it. And I'm happy to eat of her food that she has made. So
I think you can do this, but you just have to be consistent. If it's going to be with food or exercise, you got to do either one.
Yes, I am. I'm going to start getting on my bike, and I ordered that thing. This lady, that lady with the mad booty. Oh my gosh, Shae,
Natalie showed me this video. Now,
it was on Facebook in my feed.
This woman, Natalie goes, Ian, this is the only time I ever allow you to do this, and she showed me this video. It wasn't a bad video.
Not the only time I'm allowed.
It wasn't. It was a video. It was a woman. Was it a black woman? She was in really good shape. She was in really good shape. I mean, her thighs were...
She had thighs for days, but she had a skinny waist.
Skinny
and she
waist.
had a booty.
Shae, it was evident. It was evident this woman never had kids. It was evident.
Oh, wow.
She never had kids. I'm looking at her going...
But it doesn't matter. She looked damn good. That's
I looked at her and I said, Natalie, I said, yeah, she does look really good. Damn.
So she had... It was when, when those stupid sponsored ads, and it was a sponsored ad for this fitness plan.
It worked.
I was like, you know what? If I can maybe get half of what she got, I'm going to get it. So I paid my money instantly. And I bought that plan. So that's my new thing that I'm going to try. I'm going to start with her plan.
The commercial obviously worked, so you bought it. So thousands of other people bought it too.
Oh, they did. And it was only like $20. So I was
yeah,
like,
it's not expensive.
Like $20 for this plan.
You gotta send that to me, Natalie. You gotta send that to me in the text.
All
what
right.
that product is.
You're gonna make this woman rich, Shae.
once I download it, I'm gonna download it. So, but I have to show you. I wish I could find that lady's picture, because that picture. I was just. Wow.
I looked at it. I was like, whoa, she is in really good shape.
Yeah,
man.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at with my 5 minutes. We need to cut this down to about a minute of pounds until I start losing some pounds. But for now, that's where I'm at. I'm trying. Remember, I told you about Oprah. Oprah, I told Ian in our last episode about Oprah.
I heard that. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. So if
I like that philosophy.
Right. So if she struggles with this, but she's still able to be successful in life in other ways, I can manage.
But Natalie, you're already successful though. I
ain't got Oprah, dude. Ain't nobody on Oprah level but Oprah.
But you're not Oprah though. You're Natalie. So
I know. So I'm now trying to reach the Oprah. Well, I don't even want Oprah level, but that's okay. But I'd like some more success.
You're crazy.
Well, today we had talked with Shae about. We're going to talk about when I met Shae at the little luncheon that we went to. We got to talking about kids and parents and not. And I said to her, I think I did say to you, like, I don't think I pay enough attention to my children and that kind of stuff. So we got to talking, and she had some good things to say and about that and how to help for parents to talk more to their kids and how to get more involved in your children and their schooling and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're going to talk about today. So I know one of the things we did mention, Shae, was helping your kids during COVID, like with the virtual learning and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, this has been a year like none other, in that many students are learning virtually. Personally, I'm teaching a blended classroom. So I have students both online and physically in the classroom with me simultaneously and needing to teach them. And there was no model for that. So it was really, we are building the plane as we fly it, so to speak. And so there are a lot of challenges that go along with it. And I'm seeing that many students are struggling with the process, as well as a lot of parents are struggling with this whole process as related to COVID and virtual learning. Personally, for what I've experienced is that we went on lockdown as far as March. So it was right when we went on spring break, like a few days before spring break is when they determined, or after spring break, that they determined we were going to be on lockdown. So coming into the new school year, even though we were working with students for those 6 weeks or so after spring break, typically students have what we call in education summer slippage, where they lose some of the information and comprehension that they had gained during the school year, just because of the amount of time they've been away from the classroom. So that's pretty typical. But what we have come to realize with COVID, you really had to tack on another 2 months of gap that has occurred due to their time out of the physical classroom. What has come about with standardized testing and what have you is that as educators, we really rely on those last couple of months of the school year to hope that the students really take hold of the information we've been trying to provide to them throughout the school year. And when those 2 months were taken and we were placed in the situation of virtual, it really has had an impact. Just to give you a bit of an understanding of the impact that I've seen, being a third grade teacher and the lead teacher, I have access to the data related to students coming in because we do a lot of testing and monitoring throughout the school year to assist our students in prayerfully achieving those proficiency goals that we want them to. Excuse me, when it comes to the FSA. And so this last year they took the FSA.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you real quick. So the FSA, that's a standardized test for the state of Florida, right? That's what that, okay. Just in case anyone out there doesn't know what that is.
Right. That's the Florida standardized assessment. And pretty much every other state has their own standardized test that they utilize for proficiency. And so for third grade is that testing year. And it's very crucial year for students. So we are monitoring them and we're, trying to assess. So coming into this school year, we do a diagnostic test through a program that we use. And last school year, I had, with the onset of the school year, maybe 65% of my students who came into third grade reading at a third grade level and comprehending at a third grade level. And then they were around 50% that were proficient when it came to their math skills. Now, compare that to what I see this year coming into the school year. We only had 50% that were proficient with reading and only 15% proficient when it came to math.
Oh, wow.
So it's a huge difference coming into the school year this time around due to the effects of online learning. And this is being said with students, and I'm so grateful for the school that I work with. I teach in a public charter school, and we were blessed to be able to provide technology for our students. So we had the benefit of our students having technology, but that being the case, there's nothing that really replaces having a child in the classroom setting. There is just so much that is taken in and processed from being in the room with the teacher that is just not the same when it comes to online learning, to be really honest.
That's like Samuel.
Our son definitely he's a prime example of that.
He can't stand online learning.
But what are some tips?
He hates it. He just gets angry.
Yeah, he's angry now because we're on quarantine right now. He's angry. But what are some tips for parents to help their student? Like, I know some of my friends in other states, I mean, we're in Florida, but some of my friends in other states, their kids have not been back to school at all. My kids are back in school, public school, and one goes to private school and in person. But I have other friends whose children are still at home and doing virtual school. Like, do you have any tips for parents like that to help their kids navigate the virtual learning, and also even the kids who are in school to help fill those gaps for them, the ones that are in person as well?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I would recommend is that, one, the environment that you provide for your student if they're learning virtually is important. I have rules for my students when they're online with me. One thing is you can't lay down while we're on and in school. We're not doing that. You're going to come to Zoom and you're going to be dressed appropriately. We wear uniforms in our school. So if you don't have on your school uniform, you're going to have on an appropriate shirt and you're going to look like you're ready to learn. And I want you to be seated at a table. You need to be at a table because you're going to need to do something that is going to involve writing of some sort, or just to have the proper posture so that you're going to be more attentive for me as your teacher. So those are, some basic things. But in addition to that, for parents to do their best to provide as little distraction as possible in the home so that the student can provide as much attention as possible to the teacher and what's being said to them and instructed. I've had some parents that have put up, those barriers like you would have in an office setting. They have a little bit of that's behind their student. Or even if they have their student's desk and table facing towards the window, so they're getting some sunlight, because that's important too. You don't want them to be in a setting where it's causing them to be depressed. You want to get some sunlight into the room.
Yep, that's true.
Anything that's going to provide any bright colors to keep their attention. Because in my classroom, I'm a teacher that has a lot of visual aids within the room. We do a lot of anchor charts regarding our learning standards to help the students to take in the information that I'm providing. So anything that can be a visual aid can be great to have in the home as well. And so those are some things that I recommend. In addition to that, I know that parents need to make sure that they're spending time having meaningful conversations with their student and that they're following up on the work that is being provided. And I think for many parents, they think that that's going to take hours out of their day to do this. But really, what I'm encouraging them to do can be 30 minutes out of the day. And if you are having any time at all when you're in transport, there are tips that I would provide to parents to do to assist their student when it comes to learning.
Okay, so what are some of those?
Some of those would be, if you are with reading, informational text for students is one of the areas that they consistently score low in. Anything that is facts-based is less interesting for most of them, so they're not taking that information in. But I would recommend reading small articles with your student, having them read out loud to you. Having them read out loud is very important because that's when you can catch any miscues. I give the illustration of if your student is struggling while they're reading to you out loud, if they're stumbling over a word or if they're skipping over words, it's a lot like if you were received a redacted document that has been blacked out. And if I were to give you a document like that and say, here, take this document and I'm going to ask you some questions about it, you wouldn't be able to provide much information because that is all missed, is all blacked out. And so for that student, when they're skipping over words, stumbling over words, having trouble decoding words, it's very much the same of like not having that word in front of them at all. And you can imagine how that really takes out of the ability to comprehend. And questions that I want parents to ask their student after they've read a particular article. And again, it can be a paragraph, a couple of paragraphs, nothing extenuous, just to ask simple questions such as, what is this article about? Main idea is very important. But not only do they need to know the main idea, but they need to know how did they come to the conclusion that that's the main idea. So what supports that? We call that in education finding the proof in the text. Prove it. Show me. How do you know that this is the main idea? You want them to know if there was a particular setting. Where did this article take place? Is it a particular town or is it, any details like that? What details can they provide about the main topic? Or if it is, let's say, a biography, what details can they provide about the person? If there was anything mentioned regarding their characteristics, anything like that, that's a detail. You want to get that information from them. So just very quick questions, but you want to make sure that they're able to provide details and show you the proof in the text. So those are very key when it comes to comprehension. One thing that I always like to point out, when it comes to second grade to third grade and on, that year between second and third grade is a huge jump in education because students are moving from learning how to read to understanding what they read. Mm-hmm. And in standardized testing, that understanding, that level of comprehension is not surface level. They're really wanting those students to connect the dot between the text and their understanding of that text. So it's really a huge jump. But the way you can help mend that gap is answering those, having your student answer those questions for you. And I cannot stress the importance of having them read, but in particular, reading out loud. And that doesn't just go for young students, but in my understanding and my education, it's been encouraged that students, even into their preteen years, to encourage them to read out loud. It really does improve their reading comprehension and reading fluency.
Okay. Yeah, because I've always wanted to read with I have my 11-year-old. He doesn't like stuff, and and the reason when I asked you that question before when we spoke is because I know I'm not doing what I need to do for my kids, like academically, because I have so many other things going on, and I'm glad what you said today as far as an article, because I was like, my God, I don't have time to be reading the whole book with the boy every day.
Right.
But when you say the article, I didn't even think about that. So that is to me a great little tidbit that I can use with him, because I know he has comprehension issues. and, wanting to get him a tutor and then all the COVID stuff. And so he, I feel like he is getting more and more behind, as time goes on. And another thing, like I've had a couple of my friends who are at home with their kids. So this is kind of digressing back to what we talked about at first, but they want to, like, when they're on the computer, they can't stay focused on they're trying to do this and do that. And, one of my friends has said many times to her kids, they're always distracted. They're trying to keep them off the games or off the, is there anything that
Right.
Anything that you've found or noticed that parents can use to keep the kids off of the other apps on the computer or,
Could everybody hold that thought for a second? Could we take like
Sure.
a 20-second break and then we'll get right back to
Sure.
that answer?
Okay.
All right.
Absolutely.
I think we're back. All right, you guys can go ahead and finish your conversation.
Don't ever break
there.
my train of thought because now I don't know where I'm at.
I knew you were going to forget. Shae, I already know you're cool and you'd remember everything.
It was
so
about kids and
go ahead.
technology.
Right, how you can prevent the distraction.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Shae,
Yeah.
answer.
So I recommend, parents can put some parental controls on the computer. That is available, that you can disable and block some of those applications on the computer.
How do you find those?
so that
Do you just Google like parental controls or?
Yes, you can just Google. Yeah, Google those, Google parental controls. But you can also just check the history of your student on the web after, the session is done for the day. I'm seeing that a lot of parents are, I hate to say it this way, but they're kind of scared to parent when it comes to providing clear and distinct barriers or boundaries for their student to say, listen, education is important, making sure that their student understands the level of importance that they're putting on education, that if I find out by looking at the history and they know how to clear it off, but you also know if they cleared it off because it won't show anything.
There, right.
Yeah, we caught you, fool. That's what, we know what you're doing.
Exactly. So, just let them know I'm going to check the history and do so. I think that's a part of the issue too. As parents, we get so busy and, we make these threats, so to speak, but then we don't follow through. But if you're consistent in following through, then they'll know, hey, this is what's going to be the result, that there's going to be a consequence for that.
Right.
Because we're not playing games when it comes to education. I am seeing that there is less of concern with some parents as related to their child's academic performance. I've had instances where some of my team members are telling me that despite phone calls home and despite, expressing to parents the concern, many parents are not making any changes or doing anything to help remedy the situation. I know that our administration even mentioned they called home to those students who are failing certain courses, encouraging them to bring their student into the school, and parents have just flat out said, no, I'm not doing it.
Oh, I know.
So,
I can tell you why.
Why? How do you know?
Okay, think about this now. Because I know how these parents feel. Shae, this is nothing against the system or anything, but as a parent, maybe you understand what it's like to be as a parent, but along with everything you're doing as a parent, and then you have to bring your kid. Now, it's very important that kids get education. And I mean, even Nathalie is the one in this relationship that really stresses education on our boys. I mean, I do too, but she does it more than me. But the thing is, as a parent, you just don't want to get up and do anything at times because you just don't want to. It's not because you don't know it's important, but some of these parents just don't feel it's important to do it, and they just don't do it because they just want to get up and do it. That's all it is. It's just
I'm guilty of some of that.
I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it right now because of time. I just want to do what I got to do. That's what it really comes down to. But it sucks because the kids end up are going to get the brunt of that when they get older because they're going to be behind. That's really the issue.
And that's the thing. And I know exactly what's behind it. I knew that was a lot of it for parents, and those calls that I've made home to parents. What I get initially with the phone call is a lot of, they're on the offense, they're on the defensive with me. And I assure them, listen, this is not me judging you. This is just me, wanting to make sure you're aware of what I'm seeing, in the classroom, because I don't want it to be a surprise to you when the grades come out, 1. 2, I don't want it to be a situation where the gap continues to grow because the bigger the gap, the harder the hurdle to get that gap filled in. So a lot of parents have, said, Miss Daniels, this and that. And I was like, listen, this is not me judging you. This is not me, putting a magnifying glass on the situation. This is just me letting you know my concerns and what, I want to do to assist you and your student in being successful. I even had parent town hall meeting virtually just to share these same things with my parents in my classroom, so that they had some tips on what they can do to assist their student. Because unfortunately, there's only so much that I can do virtually with their student. And likewise, only so much I can do in the classroom. And so we really need the support of parents to follow up with what we're doing. And conversely, I know I mentioned a lot about reading, because reading really expands on every subject. I cannot stress enough the need for students to work on multiplication tables and learning those multiplication facts, because it plays a huge, huge part later on down the road. At one point, when I first moved down here to Florida, I was the director of a tutoring center. And I actually had a senior come in for tutoring. And I was told by one of my staff that this senior in high school could not tell them the answer to 4 times 4.
I believe that. I believe that. I'm not surprised in the least at all.
Yeah. And so we have students, and I'm very age appropriate, of course. I'm very clear and honest with my students. And I tell them, you are becoming lazy in your thinking. And the reason is because of Siri, because of Alexa, and because of Google. They want the quick answer.
Yes, that's a generational thing happened with all these, because it's not just one. It's high school all the way down.
Generational.
And it's crazy. And now, isn't that the kids are lazy? They don't want to think. They don't want to use their minds and think anymore about solving problems. Problem solving hurts their mind. I'm serious, Natalie. Look, we have to struggle with our kids to get them to solve. Look at our oldest. We have to say, just think about something. When you read it, think about it. Don't just jump into it, look for an answer. Just think about how you're going to solve it and then go into it.
Right.
We have to always tell them that. Yeah, they don't. But I'm telling you, it's going to affect them into their adulthoods, and it's going to go. It's horrible for corporations, because what happens is now you get a generation of people out of colleges that don't want to solve problems. We're already seeing this in our level, and some of the young people that we've come in. We have to you got to think about this. Don't just jump to an answer. Think. You got to think about problem solving. But I'm telling you, it's something that hurts their brains now. They don't Siri and all these, the new age of God. What do you want to call it? What do you want to call it, Natalie?
Technology. Is
technology the new God, do you think? I think my seminary professor said technology is these generations' new God, because it's everything to them.
That's true.
When you think about it, because God to us is, we wake up to him, we see him, right? But these kids that are born into this, like, they don't know anything else except Siri, Google. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of them get their identity from these things. It's weird. It sounds weird to me, because I don't work that way, but when my professor told me that, before he told me that, I never saw it till he mentioned that. So that is kind of their kids' new God, is this technology that's coming out. It's weird. It's crazy, but
it's very true. It's very true.
But that's partly why.
And if we as parents don't, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry about that.
I was just going to say, and if as parents we're not addressing this and having these conversations with our children, they're not even aware that this is what's happening. So even in sharing that with my students, they were like, "Oh yeah, Miss Daniels, that's true." And I tell them all the time, I need you to come here and I need you to put your mind to work. And I've had them tell me it hurts. They've said it, like, "Oh, my brain, Miss Daniels, my brain." I was like, "Right, we're exercising our brain.
You got to use your brain."
That's right. And I said, I'm not the teacher that's going to let you be lazy. That's not me.
You know what?
We're not doing that.
I'm glad you're doing that. I had a teacher just like you when I was in high school, and she made me use my brain, and I hated her for about 3 weeks because I was a soccer player, and I needed her to sign off on my permission slip to play soccer, and I had, I think, a C or D in the class, and I was like, just sign this. Could you please just sign this so I can play? And she said, I'm not signing this. I'm like, why not? And she goes, I know you're a better student than this, and I know you can pass this class. This is what she told me, and I was angry at her because she wouldn't let me play soccer, but you know what? I ended up getting an A in the class, and
that's great.
She said she believed in me, and she knew I was just being lazy. And I think a lot of kids are just truly being lazy, because most kids I know can do the work. They can do anything they want to do, but they're lazy. That's
but some of that too. Shae, we were also talking earlier about with the kids with not getting enough attention anymore at home. And parents aren't available to talk to their kids, and I'm that's something I am very guilty of. And
me too.
I'm working with a life coach, and she's been like, you have to have conversations with your kids. I'm like, well, what the heck do I talk about with them? Like, I used to when I was younger. I've always taken care of my younger nieces and nephews. They were like now they're in their 20s, so they're like 20 years younger than me or whatever. Some of them are 10 years younger than me, but I could talk to them. But now that I have my own children, I find it hard because I have so many things in my mind and so distracted to really, and I don't even know what to say to have real conversations with my kids. Like, can you elaborate on that? Like, how can parents, since, you mentioned that some of the kids are needing more attention in the classroom when they're acting out, how can parents, what can we say to our kids? Like when we're driving in the car, what do we say? Like, or when they're just sitting playing their video games, how do we communicate with them?
You got to have answers that are questions, that are going to, require a hard answer. Because if you give open-ended question, you know what you're going to get. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. I get that from my 11-year-old. He never knows anything, or it's good.
Exactly. A one-word answer. And you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in the conversation. You have to be willing to press them, even though it's uncomfortable. So for me, with my boys, what I would often do, especially because we were oftentimes in the car. And so, if I have on the radio, I would have on NPR or
That's a good idea.
Some other radio station, even if it was the Christian radio station. I find we don't have a lot of good radio stations in Florida, but whatever.
Florida is very different than the rest of the country when it comes to the radio down here.
They are. They really are.
Yeah.
So my station is on NPR most of the time. So, of course, a lot of current events are, being discussed there, and also podcasts, of course, I'm constantly having in the car. So I'll, ask a question based on a subject that's playing on the radio and say, hey, have you talked to your friends about this? In particular, my youngest son, Isaiah, I was listening to a podcast and he heard the voice of the person being interviewed. And he said, hey, is that this person or the other? I said, yeah, that is. And he's like, oh, I see them on Instagram. I was like, oh, wow. I said, they started this business and it got us into a conversation all about being an entrepreneur and what that was all about. And so I think, having the courage just to say, hey, have you talked to your friends about this? Or have you heard about this person? Or even just sharing with them something you found interesting will cause a conversation to be sparked. Another thing that I'm seeing, especially in the African-American culture, and one thing that I'm concerned about is that we have parents that are not sharing with our children the significance of our history and those who have pioneered in our culture. Even this year, I forget what we were talking about. Of course, as I get older, the gap is widening. And, these third graders didn't know who Oprah was. And I was just like, wait a minute.
Oh, wow.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think we take that for granted, though, because we know who Oprah is because we grew up with her. But
right. You think, who doesn't know Oprah? But that's true.
Right. And that's the thing. That's what's happening. We're taking it for granted that they know who these wonderful people are. But if we're not taking the time to have these conversations with them, they don't know.
Yeah, that's why. I recently just ordered the Blacks in History card deck. It's like a deck of cards that has.
I use that in my classroom. It's excellent.
Yeah. Okay. I just got it the other day. I haven't opened it yet because we've been on vacation and stuff. But I'm definitely going to. I purchased it to say, okay, we're going to start talking about things that because if they don't see people that look like them or know of people that look like them that are accomplishing or have accomplished things, I think it affects some of their confidence and how they see themselves. So I kind of realized that.
It really does. They need to see others that look like them. It affects their psyche. I mean, look at our son that plays sports now. I mean, it's a big deal. If he doesn't see others that look like him, they tend to play down and not play up. It's very important that they have a coach. That's why I brought him that coach that believes in him and says, hey, you can do this. Don't play down because you want to be like everybody else. Play up. Play above your, because you're great. But if they're not around or see people like them, it does affect them. Right. And it affects every part of their being. It affects.
Yeah, I realized that reassurance is so. I didn't realize that even as an adult, like reassurance is so important. Like even with me, I started my business last year. And it was only because of reassurance from others like, Nathalie, you can do this.
Not me.
That I was like, you know what? I think I can. I'm going to try. But if I hadn't gotten that reassurance, and that's one thing I as a parent have not done enough of, and why now I see that I need to do more, is that reassurance of you can do, you're capable. And sometimes we need that from other people. You know, people, they say, oh, you shouldn't need other people to tell you, but we do. I mean, as people, we need that validation. We need that encouragement from others to push us forward a lot of times in order to succeed and to reach these goals and things that we are capable of. And I had no idea about that. And, until my own personal, story of my business and getting started. And, if they hadn't, if those people hadn't told me, people who I value their opinion hadn't said to me, you can do that, Nathalie. Why not? Why not you?
Right.
I would never have done that, so that's something.
It's so important. Yeah. We need validation and we need affirmation. Right. It's necessary. And going back to even your point that you were, inquiring about some of the attention seeking that I'm seeing in the classroom and the fact that parents aren't providing as much attention, the need to touch your children, hug them, give them a kiss on the cheek. They don't have that enough, especially now that we're so disconnected from one another in society. Yeah. We need to give more hugs. We need to say, just take the time, to say good morning, give them a hug. Of course, with boys, I know, they go through their moods and times.
Yes, they do.
I squeeze mine and I don't let him go.
Oh, yeah, the youngest. Yeah. Oh, the youngest doesn't want to, just squeeze him hard.
And I'm not a hugger. I'm not that mom, but I've had to try to become that person because I realized that I was not giving my children enough affection because I wasn't raised that way. That's just,
I have to step
my whole
out.
Family's like this. We're all
Shae, her family is not huggers, hardcore, straight gangsters. Really? Oh, yes. Yes, man. Like, you go to their family, no hugs. Just, they'll cut you down, man. If you're not ready for it, you got to be able to take it, man.
We have sharp tongues.
Sharp tongues. That's an understatement, man.
Jest.
Come on, tell the truth.
It's in jest. But yeah,
hilarious.
So I've had to consciously be very conscious about hugging my kids, and even when they don't want to, like my 11-year-old, he'll like I'm like, well, I'm just gonna squeeze you until I'm ready to leave, and he'll act like he doesn't like it, but I know it's doing something because the longer I squeeze him, I feel like there's that energy. Aaron talks about an energy transfer.
It's true, Shae.
That I transfer something to my kids. So when they have all this, leave me alone, it kind of diffuses over time as I hug them. The longer I hug them, you can feel them kind of not be as tense.
It breaks it down.
Shae, tell her it's true. When you hug people, you're giving part of yourself to the other person. That's why you have to be careful.
How are you going to tell her to tell me it's true?
That's why you got to be careful who you hug. I'm telling her this. I'm like, you can't just hug everybody. I was like,
that's the truth.
I say when you hug people, you're giving something of yourself. We're spiritual beings. We're not physical beings.
Yes.
So everything is energy exchange. And when you hug somebody, it's a real thing you're exchanging. So you have to be very careful who you hug. I mean, when you hug somebody,
I would say like long hugs or even a short hug.
It doesn't matter. When you hug somebody that's a dark person, it affects you because that happened to me before.
You feel it.
Oh yes, I hugged this. I think it was a coworker. And I was like, oh, what the hell was that? It was. You could feel it, man. Was that Satan? I don't know what was going on. But you know what I'm saying.
Like, is that you?
I mean, that's why I've hugged I think I've hugged my boys since they were little. I've just purposely hugged them every night before they went to bed. I try to give them a hug and a kiss every single night. I've tried to do it even when they're mad at me for scolding them or punishing them. But that's a thing they've learned and expected from me. So even though I wasn't hugged a lot as a kid, I've tried to not do the opposite. I've tried to hug them and give them a lot of encouragement and kisses. I even kiss the 14-year-old
and it is very important for teenagers.
I kiss him on the cheek before he goes to bed every night and tell him I love him.
Good.
Yeah, because even I got a nephew like that. He's like, I don't hug. I don't like hugs. and he's like 6'3", I think, at 15.
Oh yeah, we both hugged him. Yeah, that's right.
He was like, I don't like hugs, and I don't. He's got the family gene. We don't hug, but I was, but we had to still hug him anyway. You're like, hey, you're not too old,
Yeah.
And the teenagers, they act like it. And sometimes us as parents are like, well, they don't want it, so I'm not going to give it to them.
They need hugs.
But they need it more than probably. Yeah, they need it just as much as the little ones need it.
Yes.
They really do. It's very true. They do. They absolutely do. And it's important for their own, emotional, mental health is necessary. And it's been difficult this year because I'm a hugger. And of course, in education, you have to be careful with that anyway.
Right.
But, still my students, instead of hugs or, we give, the sideway hug in education.
Right. I get that.
Yeah.
But, I'll give, the fist bumps or the elbow bumps, and I try to go overboard when it comes to the verbal affirmations, like, oh, wow, I'm so proud of you. But I'll also ask of them, are you proud of yourself?
Yes, true.
Are you
Yes,
proud of what you've done?
That is very important.
Because it's very important. Just yesterday, I have a student he's a special education student, and he's been struggling. He hasn't been challenged in the classroom, and he's also had a lot of time out of the classroom, in that this student didn't even come to me until the middle of October. I didn't have any grades for him for the previous months because he wasn't in school. So he missed almost half of the first quarter. Typically, if we're doing, 10-point quizzes, or he was scoring 2s and 3s, earlier in the day, he scored a 4.5. And he asked, he said, Miss Daniels, is this a good score? I said, well, no, it's not a good score. I said 5 would be, half, and that's still an F. And he was like, okay. So I'm saying that because there's also something that I'm seeing where if a child is dealing with special education needs, I feel that there is a lessening of the standard that is happening.
Yes.
That we're not expecting as much from them.
Yep.
And that should not be. The standard is still the standard.
Yes.
And we have to keep the standard there and encourage them to reach for the standard and encourage them along the way. Well, just yesterday, we had another 2 assessments that they had to do, just little quick and huge. But he went from that 4.6 to another test where he did 6 out of 10, and I went overboard with the 6 out of 10 because I was passing.
Right. Yeah.
And the very last one he had to do for me, he got a 7 out of 10.
Yes, that is great.
It's excellent. And I told him, I said, I am so very proud of you.
Yes.
I said, I cannot believe
I wish I heard
how
that
well
when I was
you
growing
did
up.
today. And I said, I want you to know this is just incredible. I knew you could do it.
Yes.
You are wonderful. And these are the things that we have to do as parents too. We have to let our children know how proud we are of them, whatever accomplishment they're making. And when they're struggling or when they need to be corrected, not be afraid to give the correction.
Yes.
Right.
Speak
that too.
Yes.
Not being afraid to give the correction and because I've had that too with a newer student as well, where I'm, letting that student know, no, this is what's appropriate and what's not. I had 2 students come into the room from another classroom because as the lead teacher, I have the printer in my room. And so they just came in the room and went and just said, well, we need to get papers off the printer. I said, hold on a second. I said, and they were about to leave out the room. I said, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
I said, do not enter my room, number 1, and not say, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, don't enter my room and not address me. You come in my room, you say, good morning, Miss Daniels, or good afternoon. How are you? We need to get this off the printer. Is that okay? You don't just come in my room and don't speak or do what you're going to do.
Right.
That's rude. And I don't allow that in my room. Understand?
I love it.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I wish more teachers were like you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, kids do
you can't
need.
take for granted.
Yeah,
you can't take for granted that they're being taught manners because they're not.
Yeah,
They're not.
That's true. Because we took a friend out, one of our son's friends out, and he tried to tell us what we're gonna do.
He tried to debo us.
Yeah, and I was like, I said, no, sir. I said, we're gonna do this. I said, if you want to stay here, you can go stay. We about to leave.
He's like, I'm staying. I said, all right, guys, let's go.
Yeah.
And I went right to the car.
Funny.
He came running out to the car. I'm like, I told you, bro. I make the rules here. I told you we're leaving.
Listen.
I mean, you can't. You have to show them responsibility and what the rules are because some kids just don't know how to do it. That's what it is. They just don't have the home training, and you have to show them, hey, these are the rules here.
Right, these are our boundaries.
You're going to follow these rules.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. And in particular, I got tickled. It was at the start of the year. And because this is my thing. And when I was a kid, I didn't get it. But now that I'm an adult, I so get it. One student online, I said their name and they said, because I was trying to get their attention, and they said, what?
Mm-mm.
And I said,
What?
Mm-mm.
okay, let's take this moment right here. I said, this is a great opportunity. This is a wonderful opportunity that we have. I said, we're learning one another, aren't we? Yes, ma'am. I said, so as a class, I'm learning about you and you're learning about me. Yes. I said, well, this is something that you need to know about Miss Daniels. I said, what I'm about to tell you for some may seem to be old school, but what I'm about to say to you is what I call manners. And I understand that everyone hasn't been taught this, but let me teach you something. That is, if an adult calls your name, you do not answer with what?
Yep.
You're going to respond with either yes or yes, ma'am, or yes sir, depending on who you're speaking to. So if I call your name, do not ever respond to me with what? Is that clear?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. Right, because I don't do that.
You're better than me, because I just try to choke them right now. I'm dead serious. I'll be like, I go crazy. The way you speak to them, they'll take it. Okay, I'll be like, I'm gonna choke you right now through this phone with this computer screen, because I'm tired of your insubordination, whatever this is.
Well, I do want to say that based on our conversation, the kids that are in your class, they are very lucky and fortunate to be in your class and have a teacher of your caliber.
Yeah, you are really good.
Yeah, because I mean that's invaluable. Teachers, definitely next to moms, the most underpaid, as far as a job, the most underpaid profession, but has the most impact on people's lives, because you can talk to anybody as an adult and say, hey, who's your favorite teacher? They could be 80 years old. They'll tell you a name, and they can tell you what that person did, how they made them feel, what that did for them in their life. Teachers are extremely valuable. And I thank you for what you do and what you give to those kids every day.
It's my pleasure to do it.
Can our kids go to hers? Can our kids go to her?
I need to find out where you
our
teach.
Our kids need to go to you.
I might need to drive somebody. No, we got a 5th grader now, so we're about to be out in the elementary school.
Yeah, he's going to be in 6th grade next year. So.
Yeah, that's my youngest is going into 6th grade.
Our boys aren't boys anymore. They're really growing up. So
listen, I keep telling myself every time I say my boys, I say, wait a minute, I really have to say my young men now.
Yeah. I mean, my oldest son sounds like me. He sounds exactly like me. His voice is deeper than mine.
He got a little bass going on.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Yeah, Isaiah, his voice is completely dropped now. My mom calls and she thinks it's my oldest son. I said, no, that's Isaiah.
That's so crazy. But thank you, Shae. Thanks so much for being on our show.
What a great show.
If you guys,
what a great show.
Why are you clapping?
I need to get a fake clapper in the background.
Why he clapping? You've been yaying and clapping all down the whole show.
Because it's a great show. What the heck? I'm trying to show her love, man. Give me a break, man. Come on, don't make fun of me now.
Oh, this is so great. This has been fun. This has been great.
Disregard Ian and his clapping.
This is what I have to deal with. Give me a break. She knows.
Thank you for being on our show. So if you guys want to check out Shae, if you want to take a listen, she has her podcast. In the car, I want to say driving with Shae every time. In the car with Shae. It's SHAE. Yeah, SHAE. And what platforms can they find your podcast on, Shae?
I'm on Apple, Google, Spotify, pretty much all the 9 major platforms it's being broadcast, which is great.
So the same place you find the Family Mess, you can find Shae.
Oh,
that's right.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm actually going to start a YouTube channel as well this month. So look out for that.
Okay. Do you know what the name's going to be? Is it going to be the same name?
It's just going to be Shae Daniels.
Okay. So Shae Daniels, SHAE, and then Daniels, DANIELS on YouTube. Right. So keep looking out for her. Oh, that's good. That's cool, Shae. We look forward to that.
Hey.
You're going to be across the country. She's going to be across the country, and someone's going to pick her up.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to be famous.
From your mouth to God's ear, Ian.
See? Shae, tell Nathalie this. You got to speak these things into existence. I keep telling her this.
That's right.
You're tripping.
Come on now.
Come on, Nathalie.
I'm not, as though they already were. That's right.
Hey, someone the other day, and then we'll close, but someone the other day posted that God has a plan for you. And I had to say to her, well, she said, God has a plan, and he is going to, I think it was something about it's going to work out. And I said, well, what if he ain't told me the plan yet? How am I supposed to? But she I was just messing with her though. But yeah, so I guess God has a plan. He's going to work it out for everybody.
Amen. Amen. I believe that.
Well, thank you. This has been a great podcast. So for all our listeners out there, you can listen to The Family Mess on all the streaming platforms, Google, iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, and all the other streaming platforms. Thank you, Shae. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, everybody check out Shae. Follow, like, subscribe, or whatever it is on that platform to do to find out when the show's coming up.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, and God bless.